Hello lovelies, and welcome back to Squeaky's Cauldron, or welcome if this is your first time here. I'm your host, Sarah Evergreen. Thank you so much for being here. This is a little place where we explore all things magic, mischief, and mayhem with the intent of coming out the other side a little bit brighter, a little bit wiser, and a little bit spicier. Today we're going to be talking about everybody's favorite grumpy grandpa in the sky, Saturn. Specifically, we're going to be talking about Saturn Returns. It's an infamous part of your life where basically everything goes to hell. Things fall apart, divorces happen, moves happen, jobs are lost, lives are in peril. Honestly, remember the 27th Club? That is wrapped up in the whole Saturn Returns thing. So we're going to be diving into that. I just wanted to make a note real quick that the scheduling, I'm going to be tweaking it a little bit more. So I'm going to put out a couple of shorter videos on Saturn, but there's going to be a longer form podcast available wherever fine podcasts are served. But these shorter videos are just obviously going to be on YouTube. So if you like this change, let me know. If you hate it, let me know. Just kind of trying things out, seeing what works, what doesn't. So, on to the show. Saturn Returns. This is a period in your life, in everyone's life, God willing, when the planet Saturn comes back around in your chart to where it was when you were born. Hence, Saturn Returns. Some people call their birthdays the solar returns because that's when the sun is back in the same place, 1 year rotation. Saturn Returns happens about every 28 years, give or take. And the effect, the impact of the Saturn Returns generally lasts between 3 or 4 years. So it's some big juju, like really big juju. I think it's useful to go a little bit into what Saturn represents and what kind of energies he brings forth. So Saturn, like I said, everybody's not so favorite grumpy grandpa in the sky. He's got this very authoritarian kind of energy that comes to it. Now look at the key root of that word, author. Author. This is someone who writes. Yes? Someone who creates stories. So when you're dealing with the Saturn energy, what you're really dealing with is this call to become the author of your story, to take that responsibility, that energy, that gravitas really, and bring it to bear on your own life. So often we allow other people to have authorship over our life. We let people tell us who we are, who we love, what we think, what we believe in. And this is a time, Saturn Returns, when we get kind of punched in the face and asked, is that true? Another big energetic marker with Saturn is structure, boundaries, the things that we put around other things. You can see this very clearly in the physical makeup of Saturn. It has these rings around it, these strong rings. And when working with Saturn, we're asked to tap into that. Human beings thrive with structure. Not the same structure, obviously. We all need different kinds of structure. Structure that works specifically for us, for who we are, for where we're at. But we need something. Without structure, without any kind of boundaries, we are just this tiny person in a huge expanse of space. And that can be extremely overwhelming. So it's no wonder that we give that power away to other people, people who are willing to create structures for us. This is where things like organized religion and the military and things like that create such a strong identity, and they draw people in. QAnon, another great example. It tells you what to believe, who to love, who to hate, and we all crave that. We crave that structure, and it can be very scary to think that we have to find that structure for ourselves and then trust the structure that we found for ourselves. That can be very scary. But I posit that it is much less scary to find that for yourself than to wake up one day and realize that you've accidentally joined a cult. Oops, I've done that. Not fun. Not fun at all. Saturn's energy also asks us to look at discipline, how we are disciplined in our lives, what things we put in priority, what things we say we put in priority that we don't actually do, the rituals and the routines that we put into place to take care of ourselves. That's very Saturnal energy. And again, it's not super fun. Sure, it's not like the great fun, expansive energy of Jupiter. It's definitely not the yummy, interesting, kind of trickstery, communicative energy of Mercury, but it is absolutely essential, foundational even. Saturn is connected to lead, the heaviest element. It's connected to the root chakra, that place that everything starts from. If we have a strong foundation, if we have a strong sense of ownership and authorship of our lives, then we can grow big and tall and expansive, and we can move with the wind, all this beautiful stuff that if we don't have that, and we're up here moving with the wind, we can get blown away. We can get caught. We can get wrapped up in somebody else's ideas and ideals, and we don't want that. And Saturn doesn't want that for you. And during Saturn returns, what he's going to do is come in and say, okay, this is your opportunity. You get to take things back. What are you going to do with it at this point? The first astrologer I ever worked with, David Pond, described it as like you have this backpack. And throughout the first 27 years of your life, you're just going along and people are putting things in your backpack and you're picking things up and putting them in your backpack. Your backpack gets pretty full of things. Things like, I am a Christian. Things like, I love broccoli. You know, all of the things that we've been told, you can't be a good artist. You're terrible at math. You're a gifted child. Anything that we've picked up and attached to our identity goes in the backpack. And that expanse of things is just vast. There's so many things that we pick up and use as our identities. And so around age 27, again, Saturn comes, takes that backpack off, upends it in front of you, shakes it out until it's completely empty, and then gives it back. And at that point, he turns to us and says, okay, this is all your shit. What are you going to put back in the backpack and carry forward for the next 28 years? And at that point, we get to start looking at all these things. Is this me? Does this resonate? Am I like this? Do I want to be this? Am I going to continue to be this? And we put it back in. When Saturn returns comes and we're not anticipating it and we don't know what to do with it, well, even when we do, honestly, it is a mindfuck. Like I said, things like divorces happen, death happens. I mentioned the 27 Club. That's directly linked to this astrological occurrence. Big moves happen, unemployment happens, existential crises happen, spiritual awakenings happen. Sometimes all of those things at once. Because with those things, when, for example, a divorce happens and the identity of husband or wife or partner breaks, we have to look at, oh, what does that mean to me? I actually can't carry this particular identity forward. So what in that is actually me? What will I take forward? What will I carry with me into the next portion of my life? It can be extremely helpful to have some kind of support that understands Saturn returns when we're going through this period of our lives, because it can feel like you're going crazy. For one, it definitely did for me. I had a divorce, a spiritual awakening, a job loss, a house loss, etc., all in this period. And I did feel like I was going legit crazy for about a year. But I got lucky, and I got that spiritual awakening pretty early on in the process. And because of that, because of then the books I was reading, the conversations I was having, the ways that I was choosing to then participate in my life and learning about Saturn returns, I had a whole bunch of knowledge that I could take moving forward and know that, like, oh, this is my chance to walk into this next part with a lighter backpack. So how am I going to do that? When we don't have that kind of support, it can be very easy to just put everything back as much as we can. And move forward even more deeply ingrained in a identity that is not actually resonant or aligned with who we are or who we can be. And we can change at any time. Saturn is always going around, so there's different aspects of like the Saturn orbit that we can capitalize on energetically. And we're human. One of the most beautiful things to me about being human is that we have this constant ability to make choices and change and make things move in a different way. We are all capable of that, every single one of us. But it's that period between 27 and about 31, where specifically between 27 and 29, where we get the chance to really cast off all that stuff. The energy of that time period just supports that action. And then again, when we're around 56, that'll happen again, and then on and on. As long as you can manage to stay alive through it, you know? And each of the different Saturn returns, like they have different aspects to them. So the first one, between 27 and 31, is moving out of childhood, essentially, and everything that we picked up there into adulthood. And the next one, between 56 and 60, thereabouts, is taking all of the things that we've learned in adulthood, the material aspect of living in this incarnate world, and what are we going to continue to identify with as we move into a more spiritually led portion of our lives. So that's what the latter part of our lives would be more dedicated to. That's not to say that you can't be spiritual in any period, obviously. It's just what the overarching energetics really lend to that period. So when we don't know what's happening and we just cling to that old identity, it becomes harder to take those things out of your backpack. Not impossible, but definitely harder. So that's just a brief overview of what Saturn Returns is and how it might affect you. If you are experiencing this yourself and you're looking for some guidance, I do have 2 spots at the recording of this video, 2 spots available for my beta coaching program. It'll be 3 45-minute calls over the month of September, focusing on getting you out of the space of feeling lost or stuck, finding the next right step on your path forward. So if you're interested, all you have to do is sign up for my newsletter at squeakiescauldron.com/subscribe. Of course, the link will be in the show notes. The next video I'm going to do out in a couple of days is going to be all about how to work with Saturn, whether it's during your Saturn returns or not. There are some very specific and extremely powerful ways that we can work with Saturn and at the same time really capitalize on creating big changes in our lives just on a very material level. And you can check my blog for an article on Saturn. Not sure what it's going to be about yet, but it's definitely worth checking out. Okay, my lovelies, I will talk to you soon. And until then, use your voice.